people are always wondering, well, why should I do yoga, or what is it that I would get out of yoga? Yoga teaches you to be a good listener, particularly at the start, because you have to listen to the teacher. You have to listen to the cues, where to put your right foot, where to put your left knee, what to do with your head in a position. So you actually have to follow instructions. So right off the bat, you have to be a good listener to follow instructions. But that turns into something even deeper, which is eventually you maybe even find you're not listening to the teacher, particularly in Ashtanga, because you have to memorize the sequence. So if you've memorized the sequence and you don't have to listen to the teacher, and now you have the ability to even home practice, if there's no one talking, which is a beautiful thing, then you get to listen to something else, which is the inner voice, if you want to call it that, or your own thoughts then are able to come to the surface. And when you remove out having to follow instruction, verbal instruction of where to put the body in a particular pose, what you're left with is how your body experiences the pose, what it feels about the pose, what sensations arise. And if you're going into the realm of doing yoga correctly, hopefully, and listening to your breath, how is your breath affected by that pose? So the listening takes on a more subtle, a more sensitive, a more feminine aspect. Instead of the very gross, essential, I got to listen to the instruction, now you actually have to listen to the stuff sometimes that's harder to hear, and that a lot of us do a really good job at tuning out, because some of it's going to be difficult to hear, some of it's going to be confrontational, some of it's going to be repetitive, which you've heard it all before kind of thing. But some of it ends up being actually really beautiful. You find out from that quieter self that you're stronger than you think you are. You're more graceful than you've given yourself the notion to be. You're more sensitive, I guess. In a world where we're probably being encouraged to be less sensitive, and we're probably being encouraged for more showmanship. If you practice at home, who are you showing that practice to? Nobody. Nobody's watching it. Nobody's judging it. Nobody's comparing it. So all you're left with then is the witness, which we all have our own inner witness. This, some might call it consciousness, that you can't be aware of that if there's chaos, if there's noise, if there's conversation. So I think my favorite part about yoga is that you don't talk for an hour and a half. But we're always talking. There's always dialogue in our head. But this becomes the inner dialogue, so you get a chance to listen to it. But I really like that for a while that we're all released of this burden of having to speak.